I found my market was the imperialists. Who would you expect to understand imperialism more than the imperialists? I thought it would be the anti-materialists, but that was my naive idealism in my early 30s. What has been occurring in the last few weeks in Iran has seemed to be a new U.S. plan. I saw the plans to break up Iran way back in 1974, 50 years ago. In 1972, I wrote my book, Super Imperialism, about how the United States was able to dominate the world, not any longer as a creditor, since it had run out of gold as a result of its foreign military spending, but as a debtor. When the United States went off gold in 1971, foreign central banks no longer could cash in the surplus dollars that America was throwing off by its military spending in Southeast Asia, in its 800 military bases all over the world. Foreign central banks had nothing to do with these dollars except recycling them to the United States, mainly in secure loans to the U.S. Treasury by buying U.S. Treasury bonds. So instead of America going off gold, ending its financial power over the world by ending its control of gold, which had been the key to financial power for centuries, for the first time, America achieved its economic strength by being a debtor. And being a debtor meant other countries hold their savings in the United States under United States control in the form of dollar holdings. Instead of holding gold, foreign central banks held dollar-denominated debt. This gave America the power that we saw just a few years ago in 2022 to confiscate Russia's holdings of $300 billion. Russia's foreign exchange reserves it grabbed. The United States earlier had grabbed Iran's foreign exchange reserves after Khomeini's revolution to overthrow the dictatorship of the Shah with his Savak secret police state. America had, through England, its satellite, had grabbed Venezuela's foreign reserves. If other countries hold their international reserves in America, England, or Paris in the form of dollars or euros, these reserves are able to be confiscated in the current war, which is obviously already underway. You can look at World War III as having begun either in 2015 with the coup d'etat, the neo-Nazi coup d'etat in Ukraine, or in 2022 when NATO and Ukraine planned a huge attack on the Russian-speaking Donbass and Luhansk provinces of Ukraine. This initiated it was the first battle of World War III. The fight in Iran is the second battle of World War III, and it's all of this was planned way back right after 1972. I had written Super Imperialism to explain how American imperialism worked. A new edition of that book is to be published in Chinese in a few months, I'm told. And I had expected other countries to read the book and to think, oh, now we know what the American strategy is. Here is how we're going to fight against that strategy. Well, what happened was that the largest purchaser of the book, I think 1,000 copies were sold at the biggest bookstore in Washington to the CIA and the State Department. And the US government used my book as a how to do it book of imperialism, not how to cope with the American imperialist plan. Well, my friend Herman Kahn was one of the models for Dr. Strangelove in the movie. He was a military genius. He'd worked at the Rand Institute, which was America's military think tank for many years in Los Angeles. He grew up in Los Angeles, felt victimized by anti-Semitism here, and became a Zionist. He told me that the most important thing in his life was Zionism. I had been teaching international economics at the New School for Social Research, the graduate courses in American finance, explaining how American imperialism worked. And my friends on Wall Street were trying to convince me that what I had to say was too important to leave in academia. I mean, academia, teaching graduate students really doesn't do very much. And my friends at the main Zionist investment brokers in America, Drexel Burnham at the time, asked me to address their annual meeting, and they invited Herman Kahn to it. And I explained to Herman and the Drexel people how American imperialism worked. He tried to hire me on the spot. And I said, well, I've been teaching. He said, what is the point of trying to teach students? You hope that somehow these graduate students are going to, maybe one of them will be a politician someday, one of them will be influential. But this is a very slow, long-term plan. And the fact is that academia is not going to accept your ideas because you're criticizing the status quo. He said, come to work for me at the Hudson Institute. I'll quadruple your salary, and I'll take you to the White House in a month. Why hope that maybe one of your students will be president when I can take you to meet the president and the cabinet, and you can explain your ideas to them, and why the American imperialism really won't work, and what the alternatives for American policy are. I was not happy at the New School at all because they had a very pretending to be a Marxist. They were really very superficial Marxists. And I joined the Hudson Institute. The Defense Department immediately gave the Institute an $85,000 grant for me to explain to go back and forth to Washington to explain super-imperialism to them. And so I found my market was the imperialists. Who would you expect to understand imperialism more than the imperialists? I thought it would be the anti-materialists, but that was my naive idealism in my early 30s. So by 1974, maybe early 75, Herman brought me to a meeting with the generals, and the meeting was how to break up Iran in the case that the Shah's dictatorship is overthrown. It was apparent already at that time that after the British-American coup d'etat in 1954 that overthrew the elected Iranian government, that the dictatorship that replaced it was very unpopular. And the only place that opponents of the Shah's dictatorship could meet without being imprisoned and tortured were the mosques, the Islamic mosques, because still the mosques were considered religious and sacrosanct. So this was the venue that already at that time, the Islamic Shiite leadership was hoping to replace the Shah. Well, so Herman Kahn outlined how are we going to break up Iran. His strategy is whether we're dealing with Iran or Russia or China, the plan is identical. These countries are too strong or strong enough not to, they're strong enough to go their own way and to be independent of the United States. The way to prevent China, Russia, and Iran from being independent is to break them up into parts. usually 6 parts at a time. Russia is to be broken up into 6 provinces. China is to be broken up into 6 provinces, ethnic along ethnic lines, and Iran was to be broken up. And Herman Khan singled out Baluchistan on the border with Pakistan as one of as the key ethnic minority that could be played against the central government and used as a kind of ethnic breakaway from Iran, hoping that Iran, being like Russia, and in a way like China to a lesser extent, is a mosaic of different ethnicities. And there are Azeris in Iran from Azerbaijan. There are the Baluchis from Baluchistan. There are many different ethnicities there, Kurds, all the others. The Americans have tried to, for the last few decades, follow these plans that were put forth already in 1974 to have CIA agents, largely working through the National Endowment for Democracy, and AID, Agent for Economic Development. The hypocrisy in Orwellian terminology is obvious, to work with these ethnic leaders to try to use ethnicity and religious differences to disrupt and cause chaos in Iran. So it was no surprise to me to see that the American attack on Iran, it was exactly following the strategy. The plans had been developed already 50 years ago for all of this. So what you're seeing now is not something that is just created by Donald Trump by himself, or even by the neocons and Zionists that Donald Trump has appointed as his cabinet and his advisors in his regime in the United States. It's part of a long plan that has been developed by the deep state, that is the CIA, the State Department, the Defense Department, other U.S. agencies, to prepare the ground for these underground groups to try to spur a breakaway, just like the Americans tried to break away Chechnya and Dagestan from Russia, just as the Americans have tried to use the Uyghurs in China's west to try to break away, and Tibet to try to break away. This is the American policy, and its policy is one of geographic destruction and chaos as a means of trying to break up any country strong enough to go it alone, to be in charge of its own policy. So what we're seeing here is what you're seeing in this opening stages of World War III, that if it's not atomic war, ending very quickly, is going to be stretched into a civilizational fight that's going to extend over decades to create an alternative to the United States view of economic order that I explained already in 1972, and in my updated version of superimperialism, that the most recent version is the Chinese translation that will be coming out.